In Mary Shelley's masterful novel Frankenstein, the author describes the relationship between Victor Frankenstein and his creation that is truly intriguing and just kind of really depressing all at the same time. A lot of karma, truly. So the story starts off with Captain Robert Walton as he is crashed upon an iceberg as he's exploring through the North Pole, and he's writing a letter to his sister Margaret. He's pretty much saying, hey, we're stuck, and as we started to get off, I had my crew get off, they saw this giant man on a dog sled go. And then they saw another man on a dog sled, and they had him come aboard. This man's name is Victor Frankenstein. So Victor Frankenstein and Walton start to have a conversation in which Victor tells him the story of his entire life. Now, important part here is the narrator shifts now to Victor's perspective, and Victor's now telling his life. It's no longer Walton telling his sister, it's Victor telling Walton, but all in all, it's Walton recounting this event, but it's a recounting within a recounting. So it's kind of a cool layering. Victor also really doesn't spare us any details as he goes through his entire life story. Really didn't need to. He should have just jumped to the ending because, what's the point in not? Let's just make sure this guy's invested and knows every detail about me, right? So Victor goes ahead and he starts with his youth and how he loved science. He describes how he's in a wealthy Swiss background. He has a father, Alphonse, a mother, Caroline, two brothers, Ernest and William, and a cousin whom his family adopted named Elizabeth. And so he describes how at school as a young boy he met a boy named Henry, and they became great friends. Now Henry's very warm, he's a great storyteller, he's got a lot of background, and together, Henry's truly the opposite of Victor. They make a great pair though, because you have an obsessed Victor and a warm kind of Henry, and together they pair together great. And so, right before university starts for these two, Victor's mom dies. But on her deathbed, he asks that her and Elizabeth get married at some point. So they go ahead, and at Ingolstadt University, Victor studies chemistry, and he's a great student. He's getting an A on every exam, he's killing it, and he discovers the source of life. Pretty big discovery. As we now approach the longest part of the novel, the rising action, we approach a story in which Victor is describing how he's digging corpses from graves. He then makes an 8-foot tall giant, and he animates it with the source of life. Now, it's hideous, and he instantly rejects it, saying, hey, let me make you life, let me feel warm, you're alive now, oh my god, you're ugly, I'm absolutely sorry. And so then he goes and he finds his friend Henry in town, and together they go back to Victor's apartment. Story jumps now. You get about a year later, and Victor is preparing to go home as he receives a letter talking about how his brother William is murdered. He goes to the trial, and the family servant Justine is convicted, but deep down inside, Victor knows it was his creation because, he only made him alive and then told him he sucked forever, pretty much. No grudges there, right? So then he goes ahead, and he goes hiking to grieve, and he runs into his creation. His creation then tells the story of how he survived. He describes how he went to a cottage with the DeLacy family, who then taught him how to read and how to speak. And as he got comfortable, he's like, let me reveal myself to you. They're like, oh, yeah, you're really, really gross. We're going to have you leave right now. And they kick him out too. This guy can't catch a break. So he goes, I need a mate that in turn will want to be with me forever. And who will want to stay with me. Who won't abandon me because I'm ugly or I'm different. He asks for like a wife essentially. And Victor agrees. But then as we jump now to Victor's lab, Victor's making the wife and he's like, oh no. And he starts tearing up the wife, starts destroying me. He's worried. What if they procreate and they make a race that's so bad? So bad, and it's all his fault. And so the monster gets enraged. He's like, you want to kill my wife? Well, I'll kill Henry. And so he strangles Henry. Henry did nothing really to have it coming, but wrong place, wrong time. And as, how to read like a professor, best friends are awesome at dying. We learned that as well. And so Victor, falls at first is accused, but he eventually gets acquitted. But then he falls ill. And as he eventually returns to Geneva to marry Elizabeth, they go there, and then on the night of their wedding, he finds Elizabeth dead, and he realizes, oh great, now the monster's married my wife, or killed my wife. And of course, in turn, this sends the father Alphonse into shock and eventually kills him. Now that's the conclusion of the non-spoiler section of this. That's just the rising action. You get right up to the good point of, okay, we've got the entire backstory. Victor, thank you for telling us everything about your life. Now let's see what's going to happen, because we jump now to the ship in real time. Now this is the beginning of the spoiler section, so click now if you don't want to see the spoiler. So as we get through the million years of rising action, we get to the climax, in which Victor, really underwhelmingly, decides, okay, now's the time to spare some details. Essentially, I chase this monster across the globe. The end of my climax. So we reach some falling action. In the falling action, Victor asks Walton to pretty much kill this monster, kill the creation if he ever sees it. Good thing he made Walton promise, because shortly after, Victor dies. The end. Well, the monster comes aboard, and he sees that Victor's dead. And he's so grief-stricken, he's so sad, he's mourning so hard. He looks at Walton and says, essentially, I'm going to kill myself. And so he goes, he jumps off the ship, and then he disappears forever. It doesn't say he dies, it says he disappears as the novel ends. Now, I really like this ending because it gives you enough satisfaction in knowing the monster's gone. He's no longer tormenting Victor. I mean, he's not really got anyone left associated to him to kill anyways, but he's not really, you have a satisfaction, but you also have that ending of, well, hey, he's not really dead. It never says that, he just disappeared. It's a really amazing job by Mary Shelley. Just a great novel. Highly recommended. I would give it a 9 out of 10 just because the rising action was way too long and way too invested for the climax to be so short. But other than that, it was a masterpiece. The vocab and the wording in it was amazing. All in all, I would recommend.